that's the, in the overall oval shape.
Yeah.
But I mean, in terms of defining, there's a northern bit and this, I refuse to believe that there's no patch, because what they're implying is that we've got breccia here, breccia here, whatever, and then somewhere in the center there's nothing. I don't believe that's the
No,
case.
I agree. And good evening, everybody. Indeed, here we are live, GGP TV live. Magic's just been. We've just been talking about the breccia zones, and he was getting that excited that I just decided to hit go, and we've cut in, and hopefully
Right.
you're now here, and we're beaming across the country and the world. I've seen some massive televisions this evening through my feed that we're now live on. People are watching us in bed, which is quite a scary
That's
thought.
cool. Yeah, it's a little bit weird.
Boom, chicken,
Don't
wow,
get any ideas,
wow.
guys.
Boom, chicken, wow, wow. So, good evening. Magic is here with us. We're here for the results. We're expecting him in the next half an hour. Our producer is raring to go. And I think the big news of today, I think it should be briefly touched on, is the Canaccord Broken Note has been released, 25p. I won't lie to you, when I initially saw it, my heart sank and thought, oh my God, what have I done? I've since spoken to some people who know more about these things than I ever will. And they've reassured me that actually it's just a starting point. Chill out was one phrase, to quote somebody. 25p. There's plenty of room for growth. There's plenty of room for it to expand, and this is only based on what we already know. So, and it's not what we don't know, as we were just alluded to with this breccia zone, that really is going to make or break. And then there's the gold price. The gold price, if you start throwing that up, it's a crazy thing. Magic, we've not seen you for probably about 3 months now. What have you been up to, bud?
Hi everyone. Just to let you know, I am still here. I am still alive. I am still invested. So don't think I'd gone away. It's just PhD's been pretty busy. It's starting to pick up, or at least I've started to do a lot more work. There's a bit of both in that. And yeah, I've been heads down with that, like kind of working on with the Natural History Museum specifically, using their equipment. Outside of that, just kind of, dealing with the lockdown up until when we was allowed to come out. And yeah, I have, and I guess I've been around with some people I haven't seen in a while. Went to Oxford last week. It's been pretty calm, other than the PhD. I mean, hopefully everybody's keeping well. I've got my jab booked in the next few weeks, which it's mental to think that I'm excited for an injection, but I am.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, right, just stab me up,
Yeah. I'm getting stabbed for the greater good.
Yeah.
Just a follow-up question, completely off topic. What was the first drink you had when you got yourself into a bar or a pub?
Ooh, so my first ever pint,
like literally after lockdown, like that first one since lockdown.
I had an Estrella.
That's
So
beer,
went
right?
to this, it's a beer. So I went to this little sort of bar kind of restaurant-y type place with someone in my PhD, and of the drink choices on the menu, I don't know, just the Estrella seemed good. It was beautiful. It was so cold, so refreshing.
It was
And yeah,
righteous.
since then I've kind of been, I wouldn't say I've been an alcoholic, but I have drunk a lot more than I've done in like the last year and a half, right? I've had, really sticking to the beers, to be honest.
But it's the time of year. It's warm. It's hot. It's time for a beer.
Yeah, and I don't get me wrong, I like a cider, but
yeah,
at the moment I just have the taste for beer. So
no, I hear. So, what you were mentioning before we came on air that are you essentially doing for your PhD? Are you actually sort of breaking down assays as they would be doing in the labs? Is that kind of the sort of thing you're doing?
not quite. So I'm studying, for those who care and interested, I studied sediment hosted copper. The nearest sediment hosted copper system to Havieron, there is one in the Patterson. It's called Nifty.
Okay.
But I studied the Zambian copper deposits and a little bit of, we were supposed to look at some stuff in Argentina, but that's on hold. I've got a meeting about that tomorrow. But essentially what I'm trying to do is, first of all, kind of provide some ages for when the copper and cobalt arrived in Zambia, and then also trying to see if there's some minerals that can maybe help us in exploring for these better. So using some mineral chemistry. And the main mineral I care about at the moment is a mineral called rutile, which is a titanium. It's titanium dioxide. It's the main ore mineral really for titanium, one of them, but only when you find them in quite large quantities. Here, it's kind of a little bit sparse, but there's enough of it, and it seems to be quite linked to at least at one deposit I'm studying, it seems quite linked to the ore, the minerals, the sulfide minerals.
Okay. And will the titanium sort of appear first? Or
well, I'm trying to establish that. I'm trying to see if
that's the question for a PhD.
In my opinion, so far, this is exclusive content.
Oh, mate.
I think at one deposit, the rutile forms at the same time as the copper mineral chalcopyrite, which is, well, it's present at Havieron. Chalcopyrite is one of the sulfide phases at Havieron.
Yes.
But yeah, I think I've certainly got images that suggest it's the same timing, so that's pretty good.
Did you see that flash up from the producer, by the way?
What's that?
One of the guys from the Greatland Gold Telegram chat. His dad used to work at the Zambian copper mines.
Oh, really? I'd be curious to know which deposit, because I wonder. I mean, I've got samples from across pretty much all of the Zambian copper belt.
Okay.
I'm not looking at every single site because that would be ridiculous, but I have got samples from. There's an area called Inchanga, there's an area called Mindola, and there's an area called Concola. And they're the ones I'm kind of studying. So it's all around kind of the eastern side. But then you've got the main mines are actually not there anymore, I would say. It's more within, not further west.
Okay.
And there's a mine, so it's Barrick, I think. They have a mine called Lumwana. And then there's another one called Sentinel. And yeah, I think it's Anglo who own that. So they're all in the west, and those rocks are quite a bit different to the ones I study, because they're much, much higher grade in metamorphism. Like they're really, really, like their primary textures are pretty much gone, and they've all been. I don't know if you've ever seen like really strong metamorphic rocks, but they're kind of, we call them schists or gneisses, and that's pretty much what all of them are. Whereas the ones I've got, I'm nowhere near that grade. So they're still more like sediments, but they're not the original sediment. They've been kind of recrystallized, and they've had some new minerals grow.
Okay, help me out here. I've heard of metamorphism, but my brain is struggling to remember the science lesson that it was in. What is? And
it's important we know this because our rocks at Havieron are metamorphic.
So what is metamorphism?
Metamorphism is the process which rocks undergo when they're subjected to high temperatures, high pressures. Well, when I say that, I mean, we're talking, I think that I've seen it published before where anything that's above, I think either 100 or I've got the number 180, but I'm going to say 100. Like temperatures exceeding 100, pressures exceeding 1 like gigapascal.
Okay.
Like we're talking.
Sounds like a lot.
Yeah. And there's various grades, and you know, you've got low grade. It's when you kind of just get some slightly depends on the original rock type, but some slightly coarser grains. You get a couple of new minerals come out, but then when you get really high grade, the rocks go from looking like, you know, like a sandstone to these huge bands. All the sort of minerals are kind of aligned into like layers, like really kind of what we call schistosity. You get garnets, you get some really nice, really cool minerals start to grow. So the ones we've got at Havieron, they look kind of, I mean, I haven't seen enough of the rock because they don't show us core. They don't really show us much at all.
They're really not into it at all, are they?
They're not into that. And I don't really know why that is, but they look, from what I've seen and what I've read, certainly from Telfer, that they are kind of similar to what I have in Zambia in terms of grade, but maybe a little bit higher. So you will get some more of the metamorphic minerals turn up than what I get. But So, for example, actinolite, you've probably heard of because we've got actinolite cemented breccias. Actinolite is a metamorphic mineral. It is a amphibole. It's part of that group.
Okay.
It's a green-looking mineral.
Right.
And I've seen plenty of this because when I did my masters, I had actinolite schists, which were really cool.
Right. Okay.
But so the actinolite is it's like a greeny sort of bladed sort of what we call an amphibole, which is just a group of minerals that have got a ridiculous formula. And yeah, like not to be so actinolite is the one thing that some people might know it from. It's a polymorph of one of the asbestos minerals, which is tremolite. Tremolite is a asbestos mineral, I think, and it's the polymorph of that. But actinolite is not dangerous. So that's good.
Okay, sorry, I've just been sent an emergency message that suggests that. Sorry about that, everyone. I just need to pause because apparently I've got some technical issues going on my end, and I can't see quite what the technical problem is. But I've told I have a technical problem that I need to sort out. So just bear with me 1 second, because I think it's important we do this. That's really interesting that you can even see that. Thank you very much to the person that's just sent me an image of... I don't even know how you managed to get that. Apparently I'm displaying way too much information into the world. Thanks to Zoom. I don't know what to do about it now. It'll be alright on the night. That's a bit close. We're about zoomed in now. Magic. That's quite scary.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, we're back on now. So someone just popped up and said that the schists sound very exciting. And so is this where the granite comes into play? Because obviously the granite is a hard rock, right? Is it the granite that kind of compresses it all? Or it gets
the granite,
against?
I think, is one of the sources, is a potential source of the metamorphism, definitely.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of different types of... So metamorphism can get complicated because you can define... So you have different grades, which are called different things. And then sometimes those same grades... Some people call a slightly different thing.
Right.
But in terms of types of metamorphism, what we're talking about is like what's like the cause. And so we get something called contact metamorphism, which is basically where in the vicinity of an intrusion, the rocks are obviously baked to high temperatures. Think like a kiln.
Okay.
Right. Obviously, when you put clay in a kiln, it goes lovely and hard, doesn't it?
Yes.
That's basically what happens to rocks. Like we change the rocks based on the temperature. Now it'd be quite low. So contact metamorphism is usually high temperature, low pressure.
Right.
But we have another major type called regional metamorphism, which is normally lower temperature, high pressure, but you can get high temperature, high pressure. So I don't think we've got so much contact. We've probably got regional because we know we're in a mountain building sort of belt. We're in an origin.
Yes.
And that when we build mountains, we will metamorphose rocks because they have been subjected to high pressures, certainly, but sometimes, varying temperatures, but often high temperature. Now, I think these metasediments, looking at what I've read and the general core that's been shown, I don't think we've achieved like really high grades. I think these rocks have definitely been subjected to pressure, but I don't know how much temperature. So I think, in terms of the grade of metamorphism, for those geology nerds out there, I think these are green schists. I think these are going to be green schists to, at most, amphibolite grade metamorphism, which I think I've put in my presentations before. I probably have. I mean, I was actually looking at one the other day, and I was like, "My goodness, I've put loads of content here." Like, because I remember going into all of the past reports from Crest, papers, surrounding websites that I could find. And I pretty much brain dumped the whole lot into like my presentations. And there, for those, honestly, if you need to remind yourself of any of like the ore minerals, any of like anything about the geology, it'll probably be in those presentations unless somebody new has published something, which I haven't covered, which normally will be a company report, because I don't think there's anybody that's actually published on, scientifically at least, on Haviron, because it's confidential at the moment. Saying that, I did read a brief, because I remember, before coming on here today, actually, I re-listened to your podcast with Bamps.
Okay.
So, and I wanted to do that because I knew there'd be pieces of information I either didn't know, or perhaps he'd looked at something in a different way to me. And it was really, really good podcast. And from your discussions about Redcrest, I thought I did kind of read a little bit. Redcrest has had publications on it.
Yes.
One of the comments I remember you were talking about was the idea that basically Haviron, well, this is you and Bams, but Bams was leading it. He was saying, like, essentially, if you lower the cutoff for Haviron, the entire like breccia pipe's mineralized, and you won't get so many like sort of gaps.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that's true. With Redcrest, I believe so. They lower the cutoff so they get like large intercepts, because if they didn't do that, that would be punctuated, because it's not the same as our deposit. It's a porphyry copper deposit.
Okay. Which
is a completely different type of mineral deposit to what we have. Although in some ways they're similar, but I think they're quite different. And with them, most of the mineralization is in like, it will be in certain veins. So unless they got if they didn't lower the cutoff, you'd get high grade intercept, big gap, high grade intercept, big gap. Get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then maybe a bit of like basically massive to disseminated sulfides just sort of in between.
Yes.
That's kind of what porphyries look like.
Okay.
But on the topic of that conversation, I do agree with the idea that Haviron certainly seems to be like the majority is mineralized. And I also agree. I agreed with a good chunk of what Bams was saying in terms of his own idea about how the system forms.
Okay.
It's kind of in alignment with what I've got. So I also think the breccias are first. I think the crackle's first, and then it gets cemented. And then that cemented breccia, I think, could probably be coeval. So when same time as when the sulfide zone gets put in.
Right.
I think they're kind of one of the same event. And the reason, so I think although we don't have so much core or anything to go on, when you look at the diagrams, the way that the cemented breccia is painted on these diagrams, which we'll no doubt get to see in this latest present, because they always rehash them or
absolutely, yeah,
updated ones.
I'm excited for
the shape
those.
of it's like it's replacing the crackle breccia.
Let's I should be able to just do that for everyone to see. Sorry to for everyone for the technical thing. It's quite hard to play with my technical stuff on this screen, check that screen, and have a conversation as well. So I do apologise with that. But hopefully we're back now, and you can see my screen, which I've just pulled up, Magic, the 3D image of Javieron that we discussed in that. So where we've got like 4 or 5 different colours, actually 6 different colours that make up Javieron. Figure 1 of the 3D plan from the Jork version. I think you might have that one in front of you.
So I've got, I've got in the March quarterly exploration report, the one which it is the 3D one, which shows you the northern breccia, the southeast crescent breccia, eastern breccia.
Yes.
It's like, we've got like purple, orange, green, grey, blue. Yeah. That one. And like, certainly this is definitely for anyone who wants to understand like the geometry better, look at this, because the other one which shows you where all the drills are, that's 2D, that's a plan view. You don't get a depth with that, and you probably won't understand like the levels of the different targets and the different ore zones, because I'd say I've kind of simplified the this diagram in a way in my head, where we've got like a shallow ore body, which is consistent mainly of the sulfide zone like pretty much. And then you've got the intermediate, which I'd say is the vast chunk of the breccia, like the northern breccia specifically, goes from about, I want to say kind of 600-700 meters down to a kilometer. And then these eastern breccias, and even now, because we did get one intercept in the last report with the southeast crescent sulfides extending below a kilometer. So we've kind of got a shallow, intermediate, and deep. And obviously the first targets will be that shallow and intermediate levels. The deep's going to be hard to get to, and that's where the project economics will definitely become more expensive.
Okay.
But I mean, I think we've got quite a lot of ore within those first two that we won't be getting to the deep stuff probably much later on. Like we're talking probably 5 years, 6 years, even more down the line.
Okay.
Like that kind of lines up with what Canaccord say. Like Canaccord have got it, like, you know, they've got various things, but yeah, I would say.
Sorry, is that going to rely on the price of gold staying fairly high in order to make that economical to get to, or actually once we're down there and we're 6 years down the line, we're this close, we might as well just go get it anyway?
Well, I think they're going to go get it anyway, because I think the gold price. What I've been impressed with Canaccord, and this is no. I feel like with Canaccord, like obviously they've put out quite a conservative, and the reason why these companies want to do that, they don't want to be made to look silly. Imagine if they put out like, you know, something really high and it didn't hit it, and they'd look really stupid.
They would if they...
So I think they're going to be, and they talk about 25p being like base case, and there's lots of reasons. I think this is by far the most detailed like research note we've had. There's a lot of graphs in there and comparisons to other companies that are in a similar deposit type or area or jurisdiction, things like that. But
do you think it's interesting that it was released on the eve of the results?
Yeah, I think I don't think that's a coincidence. I think,
yeah, I
feel like they deliberately released that, knowing full well that we've got our results coming tonight. And I remember, I don't know, because I only saw a brief amount of this discussion. There's something about like how, I don't know if it's Newcrest or Great and Gold are like talking with some people tomorrow. I can't remember.
Yes, it's Paddy spoke to someone. It's not the producer will probably chime in a second when he catches up. I think he's delayed by a few seconds. It's not H&P. It's the other. Is it Shore & Partners?
Could be.
But
yeah, they're talking with these guys, and it's like, you're getting that, and I know there's going to be a lot of speculation about that, and the idea that there's obviously going to be something big in this and that's, or something coming up. But I wouldn't like to speculate. I just think that they must be talking for a reason, and I reckon it's probably going to be off of the back of the fact that, you know, these results are probably going to be. I mean, we know we're going to get good data from like the infill drilling.
Absolutely.
I just wondered if there's something in like the growth, or even like what I'm hoping for tonight. This is like, I really want to see like the step out stuff. Yeah. I really, because I have full confidence that the infill, all of that will lead to a bigger MRE. I don't have any sort of doubts about that.
Yeah.
What I care about is like, first of all, kind of the sort of extent.
Yeah.
Get open at depths hard to quantify. There's a lot of ore deposits worldwide that are in production that are still open at depth.
Right. Okay.
Because it's so difficult to get down there, and they just think, oh, you know, we'll mine it, we'll worry about it later.
Yes.
So I want to see the extent, and then if we can, the so-called new targets within like the Havieron area that they kind of alluded to. I'm so keen to see some stuff about that. And, you know,
yeah,
this is not including anything to do with the jury joint venture. Like,
no, absolutely. Like it's caused some debate, and in fact, I tried to bring it up that I thought that they were talking about the Eastern Breccia, but I was corrected on this earlier today. It might have even been Bamps actually that corrected me on it, because I alluded to the fact that I thought that because it was outside the oval that the Eastern Breccia actually is a whole new mineralized system, but I've been told that no, bottle rocket, it is indeed an entirely new area altogether. Now, question for you. On Telegram this week, we've been running a little competition with some results. The results are kind of going to give us the winner of the competition. What we would like to know from yourself before they're released is how many holes are we're gonna see. That's the actual, whoever guesses the right amount of holes drilled is going to win. But the tiebreaker question was how many meters of drilling has there been in these results.
Oh, that's
Now
tough.
that's putting you on the spot, because
I'm
obviously
trying to think like historically what they've done.
Exactly, and people have had a chance to go and look at other results, and I'm throwing you under the bus, and I'm throwing you on the spot. If it's any help,
I'm expecting like at least triple what we got last time. So, it's not. I mean, so
if it's
I
any
haven't
help,
seen whatever people have put.
if it's any help, Jim put down for 2 holes at 10 meters. Don't ask. But Hydro suggested something between like 30 and 35 holes, I think.
Okay, I'll go a bit less than that. I'm gonna go for. Well, I'm gonna go, because I have to be exact. I was thinking anywhere between 20 and 25, so I'm gonna go middle. I'm gonna go like 23.
Okay, that's fairly average.
23 holes.
And how many meters?
Now each hole averages, I would say, around. Well, they range in depth. Some go beyond the kilometer. A lot of the recent holes have not been going to like that depth. They go to around 750 to 800.
I'm hoping for depth this time. I want to see some
depth.
I'm
saying I'm gonna make it easy on myself by just going, okay, there's an average of kilometer each. So if you go that, so it'll be 2,000. That'll be 2,300. I'll go a bit more. I'll go 2,500 meters. I'll go something like that.
25,000 meters.
Yeah, whatever like 1,000 times 23 is, and then add on 200. See,
which
for a little bit extra.
Which is not bad. I gave Paddy the opportunity to enter, and I think his average was about 856 a hole, so not too far off.
Yeah, I was just thinking like that's kind of what we've got, but I do think they're going to go a bit deeper on some of these, so that's why I've rounded up to 1,000 each time.
Especially if they're going over after that northern stuff, because it's not shallow, is it? It's a way down. It's some of those.
It might be a bit less than that, because I know this whole phase was supposed to be like 65,000, like whatever. But I mean, we only got 4 holes last time, so we knew there was more.
Yeah.
Because even the Great and Gold presentation had more in it.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, with that plus what has been happening this month, as far as I'm aware, the weather was decent. So I think, I do think we're going to get a large amount here.
When
I'm hoping.
No, sorry, I was just going to interrupt there and talk about those holes specifically. When we talk about those holes, had 83, 90, 106, and had 86. Was there which of those drills there stand out for you?
Oh, the one that had the extra sulfide zone at the bottom. So the 1,200 meter one. It had like, what was it? Something like.
I think it had 90. It had a 13 meter, 4.1 grams per ton at 67%.
We had. Let me bring it, because it was in the.
I'm on page 2 of the. I think it might be the April announcement that I'm on.
Right. Let's see. Because it had. Yeah, it had 86. It had 72 meters at 2.2 from 1,281.
Yes.
That was a good hole, because that basically puts some extra stuff at the bottom.
Yeah. And
kind of, it is exactly what Bam said, that you've got sulfide / cemented breccia at depth, which is what you want. Like the cemented breccia is definitely the stuff that seems to contain the better mineralization than the crackle.
Right, okay.
Which that's why it seems to me that like you form the crackle from the hydrothermal activity off of the granite, right? But that's just to essentially brecciate the rock. And a crackle breccia, when you look at diagrams, they're not necessarily hugely porous. Like it's a lot of large chunks with like cracks between. When you start splitting them open into what's called mosaic breccias, there's more space. So if you cement that space with things like, so I think we've got the two main cemented breccias are, what is it? Carbonate or calcite cemented, which is a common thing in veins that contain mineralization. Like carbonate seems to turn up with a lot of ore bodies, in veins and as cement. And then you have actinolite, which I think is the last. I think it's later. I think the cement, because there is some core photos that were shown in that Callum Baxter video.
Yes.
It was only 2 pictures.
Yes.
But there was one, and I think these were the cemented ones, which had, you could see the rounded chunks of like, essentially what was a white mineral or a
Let,
couple of different white minerals.
let me grab that because I can put that into. I
Yeah,
know where
and
I've
then
got
you
that.
have mineralization interstitial. So when I say that, in between all the clasts, at least in that example, the mineralization is after the breccia. It's not. It's either with the like it's what we call syn to post breccia, I guess you could say.
Okay.
But I think it's after you form the breccias, and then the cementing phase, the bit which is essentially going to fill in the gaps between the clasts. I think that is what is basically the carbonate with the mineralization.
Okay.
I think that's why I think like the crackle might have has lower grade, because I think the hydrothermal fluids that are creating the breccia obviously contain metals, but until you cement, until you precipitate what's in that fluid in between the spaces, that's when you get the higher grade. That's what I think is going on. From what I've seen with the cores and everything else that's being presented. But actinolite stuff I think is later on, because I think the fact that it's metamorphic and the fact that we know we've got several orogenic episodes, but the two are the Miles orogeny, and then you've got the Patterson. I wondered if the actinolite comes in later with the start of the Patterson origin, which apparently, according to literature, does not have a major, like, believe it or not, even though it's called the Patterson origin, it doesn't really have like a huge imprint. It's mainly the Miles origin that creates all the folding and all this stuff.
Okay.
But so normally in a like metamorphic setting, you go up to peak sort of conditions, and then as things kind of cool down or get uplifted further,
Yep.
you kind of retrace back. It's called retrograde metamorphism.
Ooh, that sounds like a fun thing to spell when you're drunk.
Yeah, I mean it's where you go from like higher grade back to lower grade metamorphics, and I wondered if actinolite could be, the actinolite cemented breccias might be coming in kind of from the peak going backwards. I'm speculating now, but I do believe the actinolite is later.
Okay.
And might not be related necessarily to the metals.
I've just brought those images back in. So was it the smaller one?
The ones which have
I've got one that's got like what looks like to be a stone in the middle of it, and then I've got one of a core.
Yeah, the core's better.
Okay.
But you have to zoom in on it a little bit.
I can.
That's the one which you see all of the mineralization is pretty much between the clasts. And I've had an educated guess as to what the minerals are present from the core, but without a hand lens and going up and looking, or any sort of thin section, take this with a pinch of salt. But I think there's four minerals there. I think we've got, so it's because it's mostly golden looking. It's mostly brassy gold. So I definitely think we've got pyrite. I definitely think we've got pyrrhotite, which are they're both iron sulfides. Then there's potentially a lighter coloured yellow, which will be the chalcopyrite. That's your copper iron sulfide. And then you've got the grey. There's basically sort of a dark grey rim that goes around the white clast. The white clast, I think, is a mineral called dolomite, which would make sense because the Punta formation, which these are hosted in, is quite carbonate dominant.
Okay.
And dolomite is basically it's what happens to calcite when you add magnesium, and it's normally the metamorphic variant of carbonate. I've got loads at Zambia, so I know what it looks like.
I've actually got this picture going now, and I'm zoomed right in on it. And I'm having
the grey that goes around the rim. I think that's a mineral. This one is hard to tell because there's so many bloody grey metallic minerals.
Right. Okay.
But from what I've read in the past, it's at Telford, and it's also in my rocks at Zambia. You can get a copper sulfide called chalcocite.
Okay.
And chalcocite might be the rimming mineral, and I think that might be the last, like in terms of those phases. I don't really know the order of what they occur in, but
no, of course.
But either way, like you've basically got, it's gold and copper. The copper is in both the chalcopyrite and the chalcocite. The gold, I think, is occurring as there may be free gold in there, microscopic free gold, but I think it's being contained within the structures of pyrite and chalcopyrite. That's where I think the gold is.
Okay.
So that's similar to other deposits worldwide. So there's deposit type called Carlin, and there's loads of gold in the Carlin trend, but it's all microscopic and included within basically minerals in the rock.
Okay, I've just had a note from the producer to say that the ASX website has finally sprung into life, and RNSs are now starting to appear. Nothing
Right,
yet
good.
from New Crest, but we have liftoff on some.
That's good. I'm
some,
so looking forward to this.
They are coming.
I think we've done a lot of build up, and I do think now, like with this release, one thing we want to do is obviously look at the intercepts, have a look at the diagrams in a bit more detail. I did quite enjoy Bamp's approach a little bit, where he did look at some stuff with Red Crest. I mean, we've got limited time. That would be definitely something you go over again, but it's worth taking the time to compare like the different assets that New Crest report on sometimes with how they report Havron. Can be quite useful information.
Yeah. Because it is strange actually on how I saw one the other day. I couldn't even tell you what company it is, but the way they reported it was that different to what we see that you couldn't even compare the two in layman's terms anyway. So it does come down to the individual geologist, I guess, as to how these things are presented.
It is the competent person.
Yes,
so they call. Which I find funny. I mean. Imagine getting an incompetent person to do it.
You wouldn't want it though, would you?
No, I've spoken to. Do you know what? I was in a careers event not too long ago. I hosted one for the uni, and we got some people, and we got a lady who's a competent person.
Okay.
And like, yeah, the job they do, they basically just it's just a lot of report writing, a lot of checking figures. You do get field work involved, but though they do go to site and have a look. Seems quite. You have to train for. You have to do a lot of time. You have to do a certain amount of time, obviously, in mineral economic geology before you can get to that.
Right. Okay.
So that you know. Well, they need to know that you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
More often than not, like the competent person will often be good at like mineral resource estimation. They'll be good at geostats.
Okay.
Which is a whole different field. I've never really.
Oh, really?
It. They don't teach it in uni.
Because that was going to be my next question. Actually, is that something that interests you?
I'd love to do it. I'd love to get to learn how to do it. But first of all, you need 3D modeling software, and which is expensive.
I was going to say, I'm guessing that your PhD budget just doesn't stretch that far.
Not really. It's just not taught. Like I think the only place I can think of that, off the top of my head, that you would learn how to do that stuff, and like in uni, is the mining geology course at Camborne School of Mines in Exeter.
Right, okay.
That's the only place. Otherwise, you have to basically learn on the job or do a course.
Right.
Because it's not taught at undergrad.
Yeah. And I guess that's harder because of the fact that you're in the UK where we don't tend to have massive amounts of needs for this. It's not a big. It's starting to get a bit more popular now because we've got stuff going on in Cornwall. There's stuff going on in Ireland and Northern Ireland, bit in Scotland. Yep.
But yeah, we're not really known for our mining. We produce geologists, and lots of companies have UK geologists. But like you say, really to get into mining from the UK, you have to be a bit of an adventurer, and you have to kind of go abroad.
You don't fancy a holiday in the
kind of what I want to do. Like, yeah, exactly. Like I'm trying to. That's something I'm really keen to do. I want to get abroad. I want to get on an actual site working.
Okay.
I've got a few ideas, but I need to pass this next phase of my PhD before I'm allowed to do placements.
Right. Okay.
Once that happens, I've got like 5 ideas written down in paper. One or two of them ends up me going to Australia.
Nice. Like that idea.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. I mean,
I tagged him in a tweet, so Mr. Day, if you are watching, we do have ourselves a geologist.
I feel like I've shot myself in the foot with GGP because I've released pretty much every single public available sort of bit of information on the project. I mean, it's obviously great. I feel like I did a really good job. The presentations are good, but they're probably thinking, we hire this guy, he's probably going to blast all of our confidential information on his YouTube channel. I promise I wouldn't. No,
absolutely.
I promise. But they're probably not going to take any chance.
But at the same time, the work that you did through those 2 YouTube videos that you did was absolutely fascinating, and to bring geology to people like myself that have absolutely no idea.
That was the purpose of
I
it.
become an instant geologist. I go around looking at rocks all the
because
time
I've
now.
I always believe that everybody to some extent likes a bit of geology, because anytime you go to a cliff, anywhere that's got cliffs or even like mountains, everyone's in wonder at like the scenery. And really, that's kind of what geology is. It's just learning about how places form. So I've always wanted to, and I've always felt with, certainly when I was starting to get into investing, like I was like, what do I know loads about? Oh, obviously mining, I'll go into that. And I noticed that like the vast majority of people, they don't geology or what they find, they see the numbers, but I don't think they know what they're looking at necessarily, which is kind of, I've often thought, oh, there's probably ways in which you can kind of get around being like fleeced, because there's a lot of con men in the mining sector for sure. There's a great saying, somebody in my who came to the careers event and gave one of our talks. He was like, you got to know the difference between people that actually who mine metals versus those who mine the stock market.
Ah, yes.
And yes, there's a lot of companies out there who mine the stock market. It's just raise this, dilute this. Oh, we promise we'll use this money to do this, but then they don't do that. It's all designed to pay themselves money.
Is this slightly? I don't want to cast aspersions, name names, or even suggest but a few, but something similar where you could say we're near a mine which is near a new. We are near a mine which is near a very new mine, and it's amazing, even though it's 35 kilometers away. That kind of
wish
thing.
I knew what you were talking about.
Okay.
I wish I knew what you were talking about.
I was referring to a conversation we was having before we came on air.
Yeah, I wish I knew what you were talking about.
Oh, I see.
I really wish I knew what I was talking about.
I got you. The penny drops. It's late.
Yeah,
it's
that
late.
that was the joke. No, you got to be careful with neurologies, because they do play off of, and they are neurologies until they actually drill something, and that has meaning. That's all I'll say on it.
Right.
And obviously, like, you can make money on these, like anything. You can make money on anything on the stock market.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's good or not. It's all about the price you pay.
Yep.
So if you're going to get into something that is not got any drills, you best pay like near bottom dollar, because otherwise you're leaving yourself open to a big dump, basically. Like, I remember one example, Alien Metals was a really good example of this, because it went mental. It went like, it was sub 1 penny, it flew up to like well over 3p, and it was all you could sense that it was kind of being pumped. Now, I don't think Alien Metals is even that bad. I've actually looked into it.
Right.
But the problem is it became a victim of pump and dump. Which is a shame, because now once somebody gets victim of a pump and dump, it can take a long time to shake that reputation, even if the project's good. So they have silver stuff. I think one is called Elizabeth Hill, and it doesn't look too bad, to be honest. But I think because of the nature of what happened, I think a lot of investors are now kind of gone or won't come back to it. I don't own any shares in that or anything, but I just remember it going wild on one of the groups I was in.
Right. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I'm sitting here, as is the producer, hastily refreshing the NCM page, which seems to be very, very, very slow this evening over on the ASX.
I don't know if this is related to the internet outage or something. We had that glitch the other day.
Yeah. It's I've got a sneaky suspicion this could be a late one. One of the guys in the GGP chat on Telegram has suggested, and I think it's just because of the delay in the message coming through, that you should shift your focus from Zambia to Australia, specifically the Patterson Range.
Oh,
did you choose Zambia or is the fact that Zambia?
Oh, he means for my like PhD.
Oh yeah, it's
that's what he means. Or they mean.
Did you choose Zambia, or is it something that sort of the university sort of suggested?
I didn't really get a choice, because you apply for project titles,
right?
And I knew from the moment that this one came up, being from Southampton, knowing the supervisor, that Zambia was going to be in it.
Right. Okay.
And funnily enough, sediment hosted copper was definitely my least favorite of all the deposit types I've studied. Yeah, I've always preferred I don't know if there's a type of deposit called volcanic massive sulfide, or VMS. That's always been a fan favorite of mine. But from doing it now, I do really like it. It's you do it enough, you will like it.
Yeah.
But No, I didn't really get a choice for Zambia. Like, if you're going to study this type of deposit, you have to go to Zambia. It's the world's best copper belt. It's like responsible for the work for all. Well, it's the lead exporter of cobalt. So,
Right.
which I know gets some people excited here. Bamps specifically likes his cobalt. I actually sent him a picture. I sent them a picture because of basically I've got some. Never seen it before. I've got some pyrite, but it's called cobaltuan pyrite.
Okay.
So it has like, in at least according to my thing I've been doing, the scanning electron microscope work I've been doing, and you measure the elements. It's somewhat accurate, although you can use lasers to get really like proper data on it. It's got like 10% plus cobalt in its like chemistry, which is really high.
Yeah.
Because it's meant to be pure, like iron, like pyrite is supposed to be pure iron sulfide. It's supposed to be Fe2S.
Right. Okay.
That's its chemical formula, or is it FeS2? I think it's Fe2S. So it's meant to have like 60-30 split of iron and sulfur, but it doesn't. It had like 50 something percent iron, like 30 something percent oxygen, and the rest cobalt. I was like, what on earth is this mineral? And then I googled it.
Right.
And then found it, and I was like, oh, go.
I know someone that would like that.
Now, it occurs with that dolomite stuff I was talking about. There's loads of that in Zambia and just across the world. You can get cobaltuan dolomite, and if you Google pictures of this, it's one of the prettiest looking minerals you'll ever see.
I sit here giggling to myself, and I do apologise. I know this because I play Minecraft, or have played Minecraft in the past. And this is all down there in the sub-caving zones where you take your diamond pickaxe.
Like, so yeah, like if you Google pictures of this cobaltuan dolomite, it's insane. I really want a sample of it because it's basically pink cubes. They're like, think like you've ever seen pyrite cubes, but dolomite's kind of cubic as well if it grows properly. And you get these pink cubes, and it just looks insane. And I'm like, I want some of that, but don't believe the healing properties.
Right. Okay.
Because I think it tells you that can like dispel like negative spirits and all this nonsense. Don't get me wrong. Like, the best thing about healing crystals and all this stuff is that you can get some amazing like specimens. You can get some really good like quality crystals, and that's it. That's all it's good for.
Right. Okay. I've actually got an entire page now on the screen for everybody that's watching from home of cobation dolomite. Cobalt.
It's a good background image, I think, if you can get a good picture of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've actually not seen this like in my hand specimens. It's just like, and you definitely won't see it like this when you have it on like a tiny like glass slide as a thin section. But
right.
Yeah, definitely in the rock, I sometimes get a little bit of this. It's pretty cool.
We are just waiting now. I mean, we've been this late before. There was one that that my head shaking for the Minecraft has just appeared on some people's screens, and then I delayed laughing at it. We've had one that was this late before where I think we nearly gave up and it appeared. But there really is nothing yet. It's they're doing it to us on purpose, I reckon. I bet Sandeep is sat there at home in his office watching this, wetting himself, just sort of, I'm not going to push the button yet. Let's see how long we can string this out before they get bored and they've run out of things to talk about. So, when we... since I've spoken to you, I've had Bamps on like twice, and you even mention the word Goliath, and you hear the excitement building in his voice. Yeah. What's your opinion on Goliath? Did you like the idea of what's going on there?
It's definitely out of all of the targets, and this is where you said as well, and I think we should definitely listen to what you said about tempering our sort of excitement, and because otherwise we don't want to do a Scallywag 2.0.
Can't cope with that.
But ultimately, it's a huge magnetic and grav anomaly. Like, it's much bigger than Havieron. People say the same thing about, I think it's the one that's next door to Telfer. But, I think we know the geologies, Goliath will be the same pretty much as what's at Havieron. It's not that far away. I'm pretty excited. I'm just curious to see how many holes they sink in to get something out. And obviously the depth, I think it's a shallower, isn't it? It's like 200 meters cover as opposed to 400 meters.
It is, but Bamps was saying this thing's like 1,000 meters down.
Yeah.
Do you think that would stop them if it was that big? I guess
I
not.
don't know. I wondered if. See, I'm wondering if they may sink shallow ones like they did before, and see if they can pick up some basically they might because they might get some shallow intercepts.
Yeah.
Like not really like having on super high grade,
No.
lots of width, but that may tell you about the fact that there is something at depth.
Which is what the rocks do, isn't it? I mean, Callum has always said that if you want to know where the gold is, you talk to the rocks, and the rocks will tell you. The rocks
exactly.
will show you where they are.
And that's why you don't want to like sink a big diamond drill bit, because that's going to cost you so much money. And if you sink it through nothing, it is just a waste of money, and you're going to then have to find money to do another one in a different area. Luckily, this is another thing Canaccord correctly allude to. How we're different to a lot of exploration miners out there, in the sense that we are funded. Like, we've got a lot of money for a junior miner.
Yes.
Not just because of we've got warrants that get exercised that provide capital, but better than that, we've got a big junior mining partner in a joint venture.
Yeah.
And the rest of the exploration that isn't with them, it's kind of we can pretty much fund for at least a year. So it's like we're in a very good place with that. But that being said, if you start taking the mickey and kind of do a diamond here, do a diamond there, without doing any RC or any sort of, even if it's proper greenfield, that is soil samples, blah blah blah. If you haven't done any of that, you're gonna, unless you're extremely lucky, you aren't gonna find anything.
No.
So you have to do all that first, and that's why people need to have at least some patience. If there's gonna be, this is what I was saying about Scally, but I mean, we haven't really seen much activity since then. Ultimately you drill, and if you get some Pathfinder elements, or better than that, really, you want to see some of the metals you're after coming up in the rock.
Yeah, which is, at the end of the day, that's what came up with Scally, wasn't it? Was the path.
Yeah, I think they're a little bit far away from where they're
lithology
supposed to be there. In the end, and I think just because they've got such a wide portfolio now of different targets, they wanted to go and do Goliath, and they want to go and do the targets around Haveron, and they want to basically have a bit of a feel for everything.
Yes.
Because then you can better prioritize. They may have 5 different things they've gone and drilled.
Yep.
Scally might be the worst, so they go, we'll leave that for now.
We'll come back
and
to that.
And then Goliath or Apollo or wherever they choose to go might come up as much better.
Yeah.
And we'll obviously know that from the announcements they release. And that's what they're going to prioritize. That's kind of how all mining works. And being an explorer, especially one that's funded, you have the freedom. Now, if we didn't have a joint venture partner and we didn't have money, you then become solely reliant on one thing working. It's just like oil in that sense, where you get oil companies where, they really only funded for one sort of major drill campaign.
Yeah.
And if it messes up, that's it. We've got to go back to the market and hope they fund us.
Yes.
Or we have to sell the asset, and it just becomes the share's dead for the next 2 years.
Okay.
This is different.
What do you what are your thoughts on tabletop and the massive pegging that went on down at Ernest Giles? Have you managed to have a look at that?
I didn't really see much of this. Now, all I know about Ernest Giles, Ernest Giles is the one that's in the Yilgarn.
Yes.
The Yilgarn Craton. And I think it's a different deposit type. I think it's
it's all at surface. I think there was like a 6K walk that they did.
This is the original one years ago that Newmont were like,
that's it. That's the
we
one.
don't want to pursue this.
But not only...
And it tanked the share price, and in the end, when you think about it, provided the greatest buying opportunity ever. Well, I wasn't investing at this point at all in my life, so no. I didn't know about it. But either way, all I know is I think it's a volcanic massive sulfide system. I think it's the ones that I was talking about earlier that I'm quite a fan of, and you get a few of them in the Yilgarn. Yilgarn's known for its gold, though. It's got quite a bit of gold. Yilgarn's traditionally the gold exploration area, and
I've got a few questions coming through. Firstly, while we were talking about Scally, what were your thoughts on those Pathfinder elements, and were they promising? Do you think
they
there
were.
is
I mean, I
stuff
remember
there?
putting out some content on my channel about in the aftermath of the bloodbath and everything, and I did another like proper detailed presentation on the intrusion related gold deposits, the actual deposit model and all this. And there's one figure in that shows you the alteration zones that are kind of distal to these or systems, or the sort of academic theory. And yeah, the same pathfinders we got are kind of pretty distal. It's supposed to be within these sort of offshooting veins. So that's why I think they're a little bit far away from where they need to be, but within a potentially mineralized district. So no, I thought they were quite promising. I understand like they were disappointing, but I think we were the victims of our own downfall, really, because we had this expectation that they were going to be world class straight away, and that's because GGP's been so successful with Haveron. And I think that's really what ended up happening. I mean, I think we all kind of bought into it a bit too much.
And some.
Like I would say I'm kind of like, I can be somewhat pessimistic in some regards, but I was definitely like in the same boat as a lot of people, thinking, oh yeah, this will be fine. Even if it's not quite as good as Haveron, it'll be all right. And in the end, we didn't really get anything out of it. That was kind of, I think I did say on my channel that the results were shit, but I meant it in the sense of gold and copper. When you actually look at the Pathfinders, these are the elements that you would typically associate with an intrusion related gold area.
Yeah.
So there is potential to find the deposit there still. It's not like it's right, this is nothing here.
I mean, the promising part is the fact that it's penned or penciled in to be drilled later on this year.
And that's what I mean. I think what's good about that? So it's kind of funny, isn't it? Because I think everybody will be sleeping on Scallywag. I think a lot of people who probably have sold out, or even if they are still here, are probably not even interested in Scally, really. And it's because of those bad results earlier. So if we do get something, it'll be a surprise.
Yes.
And that will be good for us, naturally, because the market likes good surprises. So, yeah, we'll see what happens there. I remember I did compare, like, this area in general, like Scallywag, etc. There's a really famous district in Canada called the Malartic District. And I used that as an example in the presentation to show how when you find pathfinders, you can use them to vector towards where the ore system is, which is traditionally how you find ore deposits a lot of the time. So if they use that approach, then there's every possibility we find something.
Brilliant. I have just had a plethora of notifications pop up on my screen as people are telling me it's here, it is out. It's not refreshed on my screen, but
it's not on mine. Let's have a look.
We have news that we have some announcements coming our way. Here it is.
Okay.
It's finally out. I'm going to download it and I'm going to stick it in my PDF and bring it up so people...
Where is it on the reports? I just want to see it. Media releases, market releases. I want to see...
It's taking forever to download.
Is it on the quarterly? No, wait a minute. It's on the quarterly reports, isn't it?
I've actually picked it out from the ASX website. The producer.
Oh, is it on the ASX? It's not on Crest website.
The producer has actually given you a link. I don't know if you've got the producer on your. There's a link.
I have
there.
it on. See, it's on the phone.
That'll be hard to read from there. So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, bear with us. We are literally, because we're all downloading the same damn document.
Gimme.
I suspect there's a few thousand people downloading this document, and the server is just creaking to a halt.
ASX.
Oh
I'm
man,
gonna Google it.
This is painful.
RNS.
I'm gonna have to sing or something.
Here we go. Right. I wanted it off the actual website because they have the PDFs.
Yes, that's what I'm downloading at the moment.
Yeah, that's really what I want.
wonder if I can drop it to you in chat in our conversation.
Oh, no, I've got it here. New Crest exploration update.
You have it?
Re and proceed. Here we go. It's loading. It's loaded.
I bet you'll get it quicker than me.
Here we go. So they talk about red Crest.
I can't see it.
So it says... Haveron... Yeah, this is the right one.
This is stressful.
Oh, they've gone deep. So they've gone so this is what they say in the first bit. They've said at Havieron, growth drilling continues to return significant high-grade extensions to the southeast crescent zone below the current inferred mineral resource. It says HADF 133 returned 85 meters. Oh my good lord. 85 meters at 11 gram per ton gold and 0.29% copper from 1,345 meters, including 13 meters at 32 gram per ton gold and 0.46%.
I feel the urge to dance.
And including okay, so I mean, when you take the two sort of including, right, they're quite significant chunks, but that would still imply that the rest of that isn't included, that is in the bowl, is still a decent grade because it has including 13 meters at 32 gram per ton and then including 14.5 meters at 32 gram per ton. So yeah, 27.5 meters of this intercept of 85 meters is 32 gram per ton gold. And if you take the midpoint from 0.46 and 0.33% copper, it's going to be around about 0.38% copper. The high-grade crescent zone remains open at depth. So that's what they put at the front. But that's a huge intercept, that is, when you read it like that, you know. Obviously, they've done a lot of work on Red Crest. I think you'll probably go over the Red Crest comparisons again with
BAMs.
Yeah.
This thing's still not downloading. I'm struggling to...
significant growth. So they've done significant growth in results since March 2021. Got had 086 W1, 99.7 at 2.5 gram per ton gold and 0.85% copper from 1308, including 50.4 at 4. So they've got another big intercept there, 50 meters at 4.3. And then they've already shown had 133. I'm just curious though, because they've shown two. They've shown two holes at the front. So now I want to see if they've obviously talk about it a bit more.
Okay, so I've finally got it up on the screen for anyone at home that's watching. I do apologise about the Zoom camera images. They seem to have gone a bit weird. But we have it. We're here. Let me hit the interact button and then I can then look at it and we can all go through it together. What page are you on?
So I'm on page 4 now because page 4 is when it starts talking about Havieron. So they lead with the southeast crescent and they say, and I've just read those out to everybody.
Yeah.
And basically it's confirming that we're at least we're now down to 1,400 meters at least, because it talks about 85 meters from 1345 in HAD 133. So we know the depth now is definitely at 1,400 meters or more. Then it talks about HAD 97, HAD 133 returned crescent intercepts within the current inferred mineral resource footprint. These holes were designed to target depth extensions in the breccia mineralization. They also show good alignment with model grade and thickness within the southeast crescent zone, which further supports the continuity of high grade. So they reported 47.8 at 2.3 gram per ton, and then that includes 28.3 at 3.8. I mean, so the good chunk of that is actually 3.8, and that's from 620 meters. So that's in that intermediate bit. That's like the sort of northern breccia stuff. Had 136 from 501. That's another good intercept. The northern breccia results from an additional 3 growth holes. Identify mineralization outside. So this is what one thing they're doing all the time with their like way they're phrasing everything is they keep saying outside of the inferred mineral resource footprint, which they're doing that for a reason, and that is because obviously they're going to release an updated MRE, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
So they're kind of gearing you up for it, because they're kind of saying, oh, look, we got more of this that's outside of this, more of this that's outside of this. So they keep, so it doesn't look like we're getting those those further targets, because it says further targets outside of Havieron, but within the joint venture area of Great and Cod have been identified with the potential to conduct drilling to test these targets in the future. So we won't be getting any of that, like, you know, those additional targets, so to speak. Let's have a look. Have they got anything else in terms of figures? Oh, they have changed the plan view.
Okay.
So page 6, figure 4, that is a little bit different.
I'm still breaking Zoom.
So
we're coming.
We've got like where the or at least they've changed the way they've used this figure, which hasn't got the sulfide running around the top edge.
Wow.
They've got it where like they've got they've changed the image slightly.
That needs comparing really before I.
Yeah, so this image at least they're showing that the northern side. So this image doesn't have like they've removed all of the holes. They've kind of not done. So it looks like they've gone 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 holes. So I think it's 7, and each one. So that one's gone down to at least 1,000. These are all very deep. The ones in the south. There's 4 holes that are 5 holes exceed 1,000 meters, at least based on the intercept. And then the other 2 even, are down to 500, 600, but they may have kept going at least until the end and just didn't hit anything.
The producers just said go to page 23.
Okay.
I'm trying to scroll slowly, right? Because I know for a fact Bamps is absolutely screaming at me.
Right. So this is an interesting figure because you'll see there's these Bamps. Like dashed lines. I'm coming. S1 and S2. Now, traditionally, that's usually used. That's structural geology language, and that usually refers to either what we call cleavage, or maybe it's a metamorphic fabric. It's usually to denote a particular, feature within the rocks that is formed at a particular stage of time. Now, in the one that they put in April, they had like 8 S's. They had like S1 to S8, which I thought was a bit ballistic.
Okay.
Like, because I mean, I understand detail, but my goodness, if this is cleavage, there's like 8 different cleavages. I found that very hard. I wouldn't say like
I've just watched your mind go.
because like in order to, I would love to. I mean, structural geology gets really complicated and it's very hard to visualize in 3D. So I was trying to work it out what on earth they meant by like 8 different cleavages, but that's what this means. They don't tell you what the S's are. They put it on the map, but they don't say what it is. It's not on the legend. It's not in the caption. So I'm going to assume they're talking about cleavages here. And you've got S1 and S2.
Next page.
S1 being the earliest, and then S2 is the later one. Now, what I find, and this is just the way it looks, not all the time, but quite often, the intercepts are running either at the intersections or along these cleavage traces, which shows a structural control of some kind. Right, next page.
This is where
they put the shells on. So they've put the shells on these, where you can see like the black line is where they've estimated
that's already part of the inferred resource.
Yeah, but then you look at those interceptions that are below, so they're gonna have to extend that down.
Oh, that's a shame.
They're gonna have to make it deeper.
That's a huge chunk there as well, isn't it?
Well, yeah, they're gonna have to extend that all the way around there, and this is what way is this facing? This is looking northwest. So then,
sorry, Bamps. I'm apologising to Bamps because I keep scrolling and he gets a bit annoyed with me because I scroll too fast.
So these 2 are looking northwest, but you look at these ones that they've drilled as well on this figure 16. They're all outside of that shell as well. And this is why I'm saying that the way they've drawn the blobby nature of this cemented breccia, there's no way that is. To me, that looks like it's partially replacing the crackle.
Right. Okay.
That's how it looks to me anyway. Unless like it's a chunk that's been incorporated in the crackle. I don't think it's that though. But either way, yeah, we've got all these drills. it's interesting when you look at the way they drill. So they drill kind of like a 45-ish degree angle, and then it kind of they change the angle as it goes through. So they bend the drill holes bending,
which is bloody clever, isn't it?
It is clever. It is clever. It makes it very difficult to ascertain the true dips and sort of widths of sections.
Yeah.
Like very difficult because it's not a straight line. You can't do basic, because normally if it goes down in like a nice angle, you could maybe do some trigonometry to work. This makes it quite tough. I wouldn't know how to do. I probably don't really have the tech to do that.
Okay, so just to answer the question, because this is what we want the logging section. I was looking this up earlier. In terms of, wow, this is the bit that blows my mind. Geological logging recorded, and this is the answer to the question. Actually, whatever it says here is exactly how this goes down for a box of Freddos. Descriptions of the lithogy, alteration, mineralization, veining, and structure for all core drilled 4,798 meters for 7 drill holes.
Yeah,
we wasn't expecting that.
I was expecting a lot more.
We've got 9 drills turning. What is?
I was expecting a lot more.
I mean, let's not take away from how good this is.
No. I mean, I wondered if maybe the reason for that is the fact that I mean, I'll be honest. When I'm guessing, I'm probably there's probably mining engineers or even like drillers out there that are probably going, "Are you mental producing like 23,000 meters in this amount of time?"
But that's what we was expecting. It was 65,000 meters of drilling over 6 months. Have we really?
Yeah, I don't know what they're up to. I'd like to know I wonder if you add that on to what they've done.
Where are we in terms of 65,000 meters?
Yeah, I'd like to know where we're at and if we're like ahead or behind schedule. Yeah, I can see where you've got that 4,798 from 7 drill holes.
Producer says maybe the labs are busy.
Labs could be busy, definitely.
But surely New Crest would. I mean, we know it's in the tech because it says so on the thing. But you'd think that that time that is required has been booked by New Crest and is honoured. I don't know.
I think the way it works, though, at least when I've submitted in the past, you do just submit and it is kind of like it goes in a queue. I don't know if they actually have like sort of contracts that say they have to fulfill it. I have no idea.
Okay.
What the procedure is when it comes to actual companies. So I'm looking at the cut-offs here. Cut-offs of 0.21, 30 gram per ton for the sort of, really large intercepts.
Sorry, Bamps.
But all the time you're seeing 0.2s, a lot more ones this time, a lot more ones. But yeah, they've kind of they have come at it from all angles. That's one thing I'd say. They've drilled some from the. Wait, what way is this?
I mean, we saw one of them is the first northern hole. You can see it as it's gone through the Maffick Dyke. It's gone straight through the middle of it.
Yeah, it has.
And that was the first one where they. I don't know if you.
I wonder if they had some trouble with that because I mean, they're not exactly easy rocks to get through.
That would have slowed them down, I guess, would it?
Possibly for that hole, yeah. I mean, the 7 we've got, they definitely improve the overall picture of the deposit because it's extended it down further, and we've also got interception within the so-called northern breccias that are now outside the shell. I don't know how the market will react to this tomorrow. I'm not going to lie. We never know that, to be honest.
No.
It does what it's going to do.
You could have had 50 holes at 100 grams per ton, and the market would have tanked by 10 pence.
Yeah, I mean, it does. It's illogical at the moment. The market. I mean, people at the moment they seem more keen to bet on things that are meme stocks than they are to put in stuff that is actually kind of nailed on. That's actually got fundamentals, but that's another story. No, I mean, I'm pretty happy with the actual data. I'm just looking for quantity and I'm looking for stuff that's being done outside of the the overall shell. Now, to be fair, they have gone outside of the shell because they've drilled under it and they've got stuff, and they've got some stuff that's a little bit outside. Yeah, I was just hoping. I think I was definitely expecting double digits in terms of like drill intercepts for sure.
I mean, it just means to say we've got to come back and do it again in 6 weeks' time.
Yeah,
Or is it 7 this time? But yes.
I don't know. I can't remember, but you know, I mean, what you got to remember as well is that we have been working on outside of Havieron other targets, namely in the Jury joint venture area. I wondered if maybe, because is it nine rigs on site at Havieron?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which I thought was growing to 12.
I don't know if they've moved it. I don't think they would have been able to move any of them elsewhere.
But then at the same time, they're having to drill pilot holes and do all sorts of other stuff with this decline that they're doing.
Yeah, I'm wondering if that might actually be the reason, is because they probably have to. They are doing the decline. We know that they are essentially building the surface works, and I wondered if that's taking up time that would otherwise be used here. There's obviously some logistics. But like, all of the data's good. It's interesting, that figure actually, because I'd like to, and you'll probably compare this to what they've used in the past. Because I'm pretty sure it's a different plan view image. It looks different to me.
I'll be comparing that in a moment. It's interesting that we've still got more HAD 86 Wedge 1 has appeared again. Unless I'm looking at the wrong report.
I'm on 10th of June, so it is there. HAD 86 W1. It's definitely a new hole.
I panicked then. I thought I've just read out the wrong
and that one's coming from where? What direction is that one drilling through? It's direct. Because so it's pointed. That one's one of the ones that's gone past the dike and down into the basically the southeast Crescent area. And below, because it's actually all of that is reporting from 1,200 meters. So that's the pleasing thing, is we know we're beyond 1,400. I just want them to drill more, kind of, sort of a little bit around, widen it up maybe if it does. But, I mean, that's kind of what I wanted to see them do.
But this is just further making this MRE bigger, isn't it? That's what this is.
Yeah, I mean, it's growth drilling. So they got... Yeah, I mean, it's decent. What I'm hoping for is that come open tomorrow, we go a little bit green. Because I think the further we can get away from like the sort of 20p area, then we can start setting some new support levels.
Yes.
Because right now it's holding 20p and that's good. I mean, I don't think this is enough to drop the price really below that. I mean, I think if I'm right, there's a 20p support and there's technically a 19p one as well, but that's where the wicks of the candles are, at least on my chart.
Yeah.
So no, we've got 20p. What we want really is like a bit of a higher support level, and
I think if we can breach 22, it's a line of support right there.
Yeah, the ceiling, funnily enough, at least for this range that we're in, is actually 24 to 25p, where Canaccord have got their thing. That now they've put that out, that's going to be tougher to get past. I think for us to get beyond 25p, we either need a new wave of investors to come in on the back of just wanting access to a good gold. But personally, I think if we make a discovery at a Goliath or an Apollo, I think that's what will do it. I think if we make an additional discovery somewhere else in the Patterson alongside Havieron, I think it will go to 25.
And it does. I wonder if it doesn't actually have to be us that does it, because the district scale elephant country thing hasn't yet been confirmed, is it? We've not yet had that second.
Not within our bit. I know some people might argue and they'll say, "Oh, but what about Weenu?" But it's actually it's very far away.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And the geology there, I mean, I haven't looked massively into it, but being that far away, it won't. I don't know how much of the extent is of something like the Punta Punta or the Malu Formation is, which hosts Telfer and Havieron. I don't think it goes that far. So it'll be in different rocks. Now, I do, from what I understand, think it is the same deposit type. It's just each ore deposit has its own little quirks. So there'll be different things going on with that one, I imagine, than what we've got. So yeah, we do need to. Somebody, if it's not us, it'll be somebody else. If they can find another, maybe it is the neurology one we were kind of joking about earlier. Who knows? That might help us. But either way, I'm hoping it's us. I'm hoping it's Goliath. I'm hoping it's something like that. But yeah, we need that. I think we do need a little bit extra on top of what we've got. The other catalyst, I suppose, is when they publish the updated MRE. Obviously, the feasibility study comes later in the year. That's another big milestone.
I mean, that's what a lot of people are banking on, isn't it?
I think they are, yeah. So really, but what I'm hoping for is the fact that 20p is the bottom, and that essentially this is an accumulation area.
Yeah.
That people can use to essentially top up, and maybe one of those events which we've just said will end up spiking it. Certainly the 25p, but hopefully it will break that. And then once you clear 25p, really it's kind of clean air back up to 30p.
Yes.
So yeah, that should be really nice.
No one had any chance to buy anything from 30p down to 22p, did they? Really, it just fell through the floor.
No. So, if you were buying that dip, fair enough, but there was no. Yeah, it depends. If you're dollar cost averaging, I suppose it's quite a good thing to do. But then, in my mind, if you're buying something that is falling like this, it's like, where's the bottom? Nobody knows. So you're kind of catching a falling knife. But now we've got a pretty firm base that's kind of been established, providing it holds tomorrow, which I'm pretty sure it will. This is the good time to start accumulating, maybe, because these results are not bad. They actually help with the overall picture of what's going on. And obviously there'll be further commentary from GGP tomorrow. I wondered if there'll be a proactive interview.
I hope so.
I think Sean Day will do one. They seem to like their channel.
Yes,
so.
and I mean these are huge lumps of gold that they found. They're certainly worth shouting about. I mean, I don't want people to think that we've flattened off of this, because we certainly haven't.
We haven't. I think we're only disappointed in a little bit in the sense of that we was expecting more of this.
Yes.
Like we was expecting that. That's really the only criticism. And I would like to know, in a way, why we're not seeing kind of
11 holes in 3 months.
Yeah, I mean, because to me, I mean, I don't know what this is what 4,000 something. The other four maybe wax on another, but they were quite shallow. So maybe, I don't know, 2,000. That's 10% or just over 10% of the supposed 65,000.
Yeah,
so I don't know how far along. I'd actually really like to know. Somebody's probably got the information. Somebody out there has probably knows how much drilling now we've done.
Yeah,
I would like to know that.
I've got a little note just come through from Choddy, who says that an initial scout drill program has been completed at Goliath. Goliath target with assay results pending. Subsequent work programs, including drilling, will also focus on the Parlay target within Black Hills project. So Goliath has been completed.
Oh. Yeah, we didn't even read this bit. Sorry, everyone. We're all focused on Havieron. I've just control-finded Goliath. It's in the bit where it says jury joint venture. Let's talk about this then.
That's it. So on the 30th go on, you go for it.
Yeah, it says on 3rd November 2020, New Crest announces this we know. Under the terms, yeah, whatever. We know about the money. We know what they have to do. Exploration activities have commenced with an initial program designed to drill test Goliath, Altamont, and Los Diablos. An initial scout drill program has been completed. Okay, so it looks like, so that I imagine, surely GGP themselves will release this. Unless because as far as I'm aware, at least this is the way I seem to see it. I thought that if you have assay results and they're finished and you know what they are, you release them to the market, unless they hold them back for the next time. I hope they don't. I hope they release this as a separate RNS.
Like the Scally results.
Yeah, I hope they do that, because I feel like everybody, when they read this, I feel like everybody knows Havieron. And I feel like when people read this report, like what we've done in a way, it's all Havieron, and you can miss this, which is almost what we did. I mean, I probably would have read it in more depth tomorrow and found it.
Yeah.
But either way, the point is that I think for a lot less sort of in-depth investors, those people that want quick information, they're not going to... This is buried in page 7. It's not even at the front.
No.
So, you kind of... It's not going to be... It's almost it's hidden. You want it front page. Like, this is what we got, especially if it's good.
Yeah.
We want to see, like, one of these drill targets. There's subsequent work programs, including drilling. Also, so they've got plans to go to Parlay within the Black Hills area. Okay, cool. One of those, Goliath Outmine, Los Diablos. If any of them yield a good intercept, that's good news for us.
Yes.
We want to see that.
And going back to what we said earlier, we don't actually mean a lump of gold. We actually mean proper Pathfinder elements and proof that there's gold and there's proof that
what I want to see,
area.
You want to see, preferably, you want a nice, a decent width and grade of gold and copper.
Okay, yeah.
Like you want one of those, and then if they talk about Pathfinders as well, because then it would suggest that they're pretty close.
They're on sort of, they're in the right. Yeah, that makes sense.
They say like the best indicator of gold is gold itself. So if there was visible gold, but I don't think that's the type of deposit we're in. What you just want is like, I don't know, even something simple like, I don't know, 25 meters at 1.2 gram per ton with various Pathfinder elements might be enough to say, oh, there's something here. Certainly more than Scallywag if you got that.
Yeah.
That bit there's a nice little bit on the jury joint venture. I just hope they release that as a separate thing, because I think otherwise people are going to... The worry I have with stocks like Great and Gold sometimes is that these results come out and it does what it does. Normally on good results it drops anyway, but sometimes it doesn't, whatever it does. And then you have that 6-week period, that sort of lull. And then in between you might get like, some options got activated, or every so often you get one like this come out. And that's really like the catalyst that gets people interested sometimes.
Yes.
Because I feel like the market knows about Havieron. It definitely knows about Havieron.
It could be that actually with the result support extensions to breccia mineralization, I'm reading an image that I was sent that I missed, in the northwest of the system, and further highlights the potential for resource extensions outside the southeast crescent zone. That actually could be... People could FOMO into this, in as much as the MRE is going to get upgraded. We want to be on the bottom side of it.
Best case scenario, that's what people will do. They'll like read this language saying further supports the continuity of further outside. Because like I was saying, the language they're using is very much like we're going to upgrade it.
It's coming.
It's coming. And hopefully, there's some people out there that will certainly look to increase, maybe come in at this point. As far as I'm aware, and I know that this has been kind of published a little bit in the Telegram, I think there is evidence to suggest that there are some bigger players accumulating shares, like with the Bloomberg data.
Yes.
There is evidence of that. So you never know, like people might be stacking up. We've got this thing tomorrow as well that they're talking with that other group. I imagine it might be it could be about the MRE. It could be like, because, what we're just talking about, maybe they're sort of giving them a heads up as to when that might be coming out.
Yeah.
You don't know. We don't know what that discussions are going to be about at all. We're just talking,
Yeah.
But like, overall, I'm pretty happy. I think I'm happier than last time. That's something to say. I would say I'm happier than last time. Yeah, and I think the point is we were saying about. I think we even said at the start, like one of the things we were looking for was like going deeper, and that's exactly what they've done. So you can't knock them for that.
No,
like, you can't knock them. Like they haven't pussyfooted around and gone, oh, we'll just go down to 600, 700. They've gone, right, we're going to go right down and see what we can get. And they've managed to hit stuff all the way down to 1,396.5. If you add on, so it's including 14.5 from 1,396.5. So they're now, if you add the 14.5 on from that, you're up to 1,000. I've got to get my maths right now. 1,411 meters. So I think that's the lowest intercept we've got. And that one is a 32 gram per ton gold.
Just 32 grams.
So you're getting a big chunk there at that depth. There's going to be disseminated lower grade ore around that.
It's a packet of Watsits. Sorry, they found a packet of Watsits worth of gold.
Yeah, I mean, so I'm anticipating now, like, if you got looking at.
Can't believe we just said that.
1,500 meters is probably within reach now.
Yeah.
Certainly. It all depends on how thick, because if that is still punta stuff, I don't know what the formation is down there, but and the way it's folded and stuff. Really, because that's really the bulk is hosted in that formation. So I think, as far as I'm concerned, whatever the thickness of that is kind of the thickness, really, of the ore.
Okay.
I mean, I forget what the bloody formation is. It's the Lamel group, isn't it? The whole thing, but I can't remember what's below the punta now.
It's a bit late to be thinking.
Yeah, it's a bit late to be thinking about that. But either way, I'm pretty happy. I think all I wanted was more.
Yeah.
All I wanted.
A nice 20 hills. A nice 20 holes would be nice. The producer is saying 32 grams per ton is over 1 ounce.
Yeah, it's insane. Like that is like. So when we teach John, like one of the things that kind of certainly this year in one of the ore classes that my supervisor teaches, he set him a task, and it was the whole idea was to kind of prove whether something's economic or not. But one of the issues the students encountered was the sort of so-called grade smearing and the nugget effect.
Right. Okay.
And that's obviously where, you'll see companies report stuff like this, where it'll be like, oh, we got 85 meters at 11 grams per ton, but they'll say, oh, 10 meters is like 100 and something grams. So the rest is nonsense. It's just not even bother. It's clearly within a sort of 10 meter wide vein or something.
Right. Okay.
And that's a problem because it's not actually what it says on the tin. You have to dig into it. The difference with this is that you've got 27.5 meters of 32 gram per ton. That's not so much bigger than 11, right? That the rest would be, less, basically cut off, because obviously when you write this, it's like an average. It's like that's the way they report these. And some people really don't like the way that mining companies report their figures, but I think it makes sense to kind of use an average and then tell you what's actually it includes. So I personally don't think Haviron. I know this was a thing that was thrown at us in the past. I don't think there's grade smearing. I don't think there's like a nugget effect. Obviously, we've got chunks that contain more than others, but personally, I think the width that you see, the intercepts you see, and the grades, I think most of it's going to be economic. There's going to be some parts of it that would be a little bit lower grade, but personally, I think it's not a problem.
Which is just awesome. I am going to open up Photoshop and see if I can hack together a quique diagram thingy.
Comparison. Figure 4 has changed. I mean, this might be just a different version of the figure, just a simplified. I don't really know because for the longest time they've had the sulfide pretty much running a ring around the edge where the dotted line is. They decided to remove most of that, and now they've kind of got it just on the southeast, and they've got the northern and the eastern marks, and they've kind of changed the shells of not the northern, but where the northwest crescent is.
Yeah,
they kind of changed where the blobs are. But the thing is, they included part of that, in the MRE. So I find it hard to believe that the crescent sulfide has just disappeared from there. I wondered if they just removed it because they wanted to make the intercepts more clearly visible on the map.
It was getting very busy, wasn't it?
It is a very, I prefer. I actually think this is when they do this is much better because these are the holes they've done. I'd like for your corporate presentation, by all means, show how much you've done. In fact, they have done that. They have done that in the top left, but still in the top left, they haven't got the sulfide running around the top anymore, which is an interesting thing. But because for the longest time they've had that, and also they've done a bit of the MRE there as well. I don't know why that is, because the other figure, the one which is the 3D one, that hasn't changed. They've got that the same.
I found it. So I now need
figure 3, the 3D plan. That's the same.
Down.
And they've still got northwest crescent target on there. That's still the same.
So no huge zone as I was hoping for.
Yeah, it's
there is.
So there you go. That's kind of that. I'm confused why they've.
The producer has just said, I'd prefer a nice slow releasing of results over time that slowly raises the SP. I think we're all in agreement there. 20 holes like this would have blown the doors off. I think that's probably fair.
Yeah.
We'd be back to crazy fertility. They're all great results. It's confusing, however, how they're going to get through 65,000 meters if they're only going to do 5,000 meters every 6 weeks.
Yeah, I don't think they can. That's not enough. They'll be behind schedule. Now, obviously, I know we've had weather. So I blamed the 4 ones on the weather last time.
Yes.
I can't give that excuse this time because I'm pretty sure from the satellite imagery and from what's been reported, from my knowledge at least, maybe someone can correct me, I think the weather's been good.
Yeah.
So I can only assume there has been some logistical issues. Maybe their attention has been on the construction, the decline, all this other stuff going on, that potentially they had the staff shortages at the drilling. But I don't want to kind of keep banging on about it because I feel like I'm like, oh, there's only 7 drills and they're all really good. Oh, only 7.
Oh, I've just been corrected. That's a Stephen. I don't know how to pronounce that. Buchanan. I just want to credit the right person who said that. Apparently, the producer said I didn't say that. That's from Stephen Buchanan. So that's a great point. I think we're all in agreement there. Anyone that is watching, I don't know if you've got eyes on this at all, Magic. I've pulled up the. I've pulled up March's 3D plan image. No, not 3D plan image. The 2D flat image, and it's growing. There's a lot more yellow. Going on between the two.
Because I've got them on 2 separate tabs now. So let's have a look then.
A lot more yellow. And in fact, actually, it looks like they've actually... Oh, think about it. Say it. So where the high grade zone goes all the way around, they actually appear... And I think it comes down to the thickness of... the depth of where we're looking at. So I think they've changed the RL
that actually
level.
might be it. I wondered if that's probably because all of these are appearing from 600 and definitely the majority are from 1200. That would probably be why.
So could that what it be? In fact, we're looking at this a little bit lower down.
Yeah, I think that's exactly that. Because they have this. There's no you can't just. Yeah, I think that's the best explanation because all of these drill holes, 5 out of the 7 are below 1,000 meters, and then the other 2 are kind of from 500, and those 2 are actually they're going through the southeast anyway, where we know it's pretty shallow. So I think they're doing it for clarity. I think they're just going well. Yeah.
Because
in fact, they say a plan view schematic of a horizontal slice at 4,700 meters RL. I think so. They took it from a particular place and then down. And I wondered if that. Let's have a look. Oh no, ignore me because the same figure caption is for figure 4 as well. So it's not that. But,
yeah, the March figure 2 is 4.7 as well.
Yeah. So actually, but then when you look at I'm on the March one now, and they've got for example, had 90. It goes through 447 meters. and that's up at the top of the northwest,
Yeah.
closure. And then they've got another one. Let's have a look. So that's actually the only one that goes actually through that bit in that report. And I wondered if that's why they included it, because, then they can say, okay, well, this is going through, northwest closure.
But they've
I still think it's there. I think they've just took it off for clarity.
Yeah.
I can't, because they leave it on in the 3D one, the one before.
Yes.
So they can't, it doesn't make sense for it not to be in both.
No.
But unless you are just saying, okay, well, this is for this data. And then, because the one in March is busy. Like, they included everything.
Yeah.
Pretty much that had been done.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, bloody hell. Like, there's so much going on here, So, but yeah, like, I think you can see there is a slight difference, namely the 0.5 shell slice. I know it's only the 0.5 has increased in size, but the yellow's got bigger. They've changed the positioning of the pink. Like, they've gone for a more blobby, 2 blobs within the at depth within the. So you can see it's weird because I feel like unless they haven't labeled it exactly, but I wondered if that that intercept that's in the blob is actually I don't know if it's higher or lower, but one thing I'm liking though is the gold. The gold grade is pretty. It's still really good at depth. Now the copper drops off. The copper looks like it kind of doesn't have as much at depth. It seems to be situated higher up. So there's a little bit of a metalization going on, which I think could. I mean, it's probably because gold and copper have completely different properties.
Yeah.
And I wondered if at further depth, copper is not amenable to being precipitated, or maybe the fluids at depth are a bit different. There's all sorts of reasons.
It's still there in figure 15, but it's not there in figure 14.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking now. Let's have a look.
I'm on page 23 again.
Yeah, I'm gonna go down there. So is that in the? Oh, I'm in the wrong one. Let's go to 23 in the right one. Yeah, so you go. Let's have a look. So I'm just trying to look for it in the. Then again, I say that you still got what is that one? I need to read this very tiny writing. Had 133, where you're still getting 0.33% copper. Still getting that. I mean, it's not 1.6%.
No.
That's still at depth as well. So I'm not really. That's within the sulfide zone. I think the breccia, the copper drops off, but the sulfide zone is still very consistent. The way they draw it, the way it extends vertically, this is what I like about our ore body as well. It's kind of a lot of it sub to vertical, which makes it very easy to kind of just dig.
Yeah.
I think Bamps has a lot more comments about and a few of the other guys who are a bit more savvy about mining engineering and just extracting ore. My knowledge is that the vertical ore bodies are easier to extract than certainly folded, and you want simple geometries if you can.
Yeah. So
this is good. So that's another positive. I'm just curious though about that sulfide zone, why it's vertical. I'm assuming these rocks have been tilted up that way, because I can't imagine it's a vein. I have no idea what that is exactly, the feature that's causing it to be kind of vertical like that. But
because it's going downwards, isn't it?
It's going downwards, and you'll notice the sulfide zones, they're on the edge or close to the edge of the crackle breccia. They're if you imagine the breccia pipe, the sulfide zone is at the margins.
Yeah.
Which again, I don't really know in terms of what that means in terms of its timing, or if there was an event that kind of forced it out that way. Because I mean, in my head, a breccia pipe, the sort of most permeable parts would kind of be the margins, I would have thought. But I don't really know.
And the high grade zone has happened after everything else, hasn't it?
You form the. yeah, the crackles first. But you look at the cement. I mean, the cemented breccia is also kind of on the margins. I feel like that's where the fluids are tending to percolate the most. At least in my head, this is kind of what's happening. At least if you just look at these figures. I mean, the geologists on site will probably have a better idea. But from this information, it looks like that's kind of what's happening. And then, yeah, the I would say like sulfide crescent, it's definitely, you can see the way it's situated. It's vertical along the kind of near to, at least proximal to the margin, which I don't think is a coincidence. There's clearly a reason for that. I'm just curious though why if it's an original, like if it was originally these beds were, or this part was horizontal, because they don't tell you. They talk about like the non, the rubbish yellow, the stuff that doesn't have anything.
Yeah.
Bedded sediments. They don't mark the bedding on. They don't give you that. I have no idea what the bedding's doing. If it's like, I mean, I may used to have known, because I may have been able to find that information in past reports, and it's maybe in my presentation.
Yeah.
I'll have to check, but I can't remember off the top of my head what the bedding's doing. So it's interesting, because if that's vertical as well, then obviously the original horizontal layers are now flipped like that.
Yeah.
Which would then imply that this is actually a horizon within one of the, but otherwise it could just be, this could be cross-cutting, even, if it's horizontal, it won't be horizontal, it'll be dipping somewhat, these beds. I mean, they're supposed to, I think
like in terms of when you look at rocks and stuff, and there's like a wave effect.
Yeah, that's a folding.
Right.
That's usually folding. I mean, and then, but yeah, like usually the bedding, you can see like the layers, if they're tilted like that, that means obviously the rocks have been, moved from horizontal, because so they're supposed to be horizontal beds, and then you tilt it. But then when you're dealing with sediments, they fill depressions. So depending on what the underlying topography was, it will form quite irregular shapes and different thicknesses. It can get complicated, structural geology, very quickly. So I don't know what this is doing. They don't mark on any of the like texture, thing. It's a shame, because I feel like Greatland Gold and New Crest, now who are in charge with this site, they don't get me wrong. These figures are brilliant. I'm desperate for like a Canon Baxter or someone to give a presentation. How long ago was it when he did that one?
Absolutely. With the cock and balls, I think it was up there. The cock and balls on the screen. It was like a year ago.
Yeah, we need another one of those.
I mean,
I really think we need another one of those.
Yeah.
I mean, certainly so that I can field some questions. I really want to. I'd ask loads. I'd be like, "Well, what's this doing? I mean, they probably won't answer half of them, but I've tried emailing in the past. I remember ages ago I'd emailed Callum, and he'd be like, basically sort of saying, "Oh, that's confidential." And like,
touchy
I feel like that's the reply they just generally will give, because
Yeah.
they release what they want to release at the end of the day. If it was down to me, if I was the person in charge, I'd be, the minimum I would be giving us is core. I want to see, because there's nothing better than seeing the ore itself.
We want to see
knowing
the gold.
It's real.
Show me the money.
Yeah, I want to see it's real.
Yeah.
I know it's real.
Absolutely.
It's not like, but I want to see the rocks that actually have it in.
Yeah. I'd much. Yeah. Give me a
I feel
PDF
like
full of pictures.
I feel like I genuinely feel, even if you're not somebody who follows geology or knows what's kind of going on, if you see shiny things in a rock, you're probably like, there's something there. Like,
yeah.
I feel like anyone can understand that.
Shut up and take my money. I've been forwarded the photo. I can't remember where it's come from, but this says here, well-defined ore body. New Crest has completed over 200,000 metres of drilling from 204 holes today, intersecting high-grade copper mineralisation. And then further down it says, New Crest commenced drilling in May 2019. Drilling activities from 7 drill holes resulted in 575 of drilling completed since the 31st of March, with all drill holes intersecting mineralisation. A total of 164,420 metres of drilling from 190 holes has been completed since New Crest did
How many was that, sorry?
164,420 over 190 holes.
Okay. That's from when they started. So that's not. So that's including the bit they did before the 65,000. Then.
Yeah.
So I swear. Wait, hang on a minute. I'm pretty sure it might be in the corporate presentation.
That's where that's come from.
There's a number. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the
growth drilling campaign was 65,000.
Yes, maybe that's what we're seeing the end of now. Maybe that's why it's these last 7 or 11 holes.
That was in the first half of 2021.
Is now the end of the growth, which means the July one will have all the infill. No, have I got that the right way around?
Yeah, it says so. I'm on that slide that says they completed. So according to the April presentation by GGP, they said, yeah, they completed more than 200,000 of drilling from 204 holes. Growth drilling campaign underway, targeting 65,000. I want to know how much they did before they announced that they were going to do 65,000, because then then whatever that number you just said is, you take it away, and that's how much into the 65,000 they've done.
So we need the November results. Is that what we need?
Yeah, I don't. Where was that bit you just read out to me? Where was that?
I don't know. It was literally a screenshot that someone's.
Oh, really? Let me have a look.
It's come from a presentation.
By the way, somebody has put. I've just noticed, and they are right. When I was saying that they were down to like 1411, it's actually deeper than that, because there is a result. So obviously, you got the big table.
Yeah. Well, I'll go and have a look at November's data.
I'm gonna go. So. You've got HADS 86W1, which is the one with it says total depth is 1,460. That's how deep they got with that hole.
Okay.
And then there was another one that was 1,468.9. So they've got, that's the deepest I think that's the deepest they've drilled. That had 136. It goes to 1,468.9. And then they got, the deepest intercept they got was to 1,354 there, but pretty sure had 86 is deeper than that. Yeah, it is. That hole was completely mineralized right to the end. So because it said from their last intercept from 1,426.3 to 1,460, cut off of 0.2 gram per ton, they got 33.7 meters at okay, so that's actually at 0.39 ppm and then 0.009%. So that's not gold's there, but it's not in, like, we're not talking big sums necessarily.
Someone's just said it is at an angle, so is it actually that deep?
Yeah, so that's true. I think what we have to be careful is that you look at the dip in azimuth, so they drilled that at a 64-degree angle. So yeah, you got to question. It's not quite. It's not like you've gone vertical. You've got to take into account You've also got to take into account that normally when you drill, you're going to deviate somewhat. You don't perfectly get where you want to go because of the distance from the rocks.
Yeah.
But so that's the distance in the hole. In terms of true depth, that's where you have to see, to get the true depth, you have to do some maths. Who
wants to do that?
You need to. It's trigonometry. You know what? Oh. A little while ago, I did a course and explained there's basically you use the drill data plus there's a certain instrument I think you can use to calculate that, but I don't have that with me, and I've forgotten that part of the course. So
fair enough.
Probably put it this way, yes, it's not going to be exactly at that depth. It's going to be shallower than that.
Interestingly, the October results that came up at the end of October in the login section, and this is probably more to what we was expecting, was 24,644 meters from 34 drill holes. That's more like what we was expecting to get.
Yeah.
As opposed to
that was October.
That was October.
So that was before. So they've done that.
So I wonder if this is just them wrapping up this particular.
I wonder, because 65,000 meters. That's what they were targeting.
So what they do in January?
For 2021.
What they do in January?
Yeah, you got to add up January, March, and now this, and that will tell you pretty much. But then I know some of that is infill. I know some of that's infill because they say it's infill.
Yeah. Doesn't help, does it?
Don't know if there's a way in which we can calculate. I'm pretty sure someone's going to know, or have a good guess.
So it was January was 19,855 from 33 drill holes.
Okay, so that's a good chunk.
So that's
basically
20,000, isn't it?
That's a third of the way.
Yeah.
You had the 4,000 or something. If you're taking these as just raw numbers.
And then we had 11th of March.
I think we're over half. I think if you add up the total drilling meters.
Login. It was 16,449 from 26. So that's almost 40. It's almost 40,000.
So you're up to about 36k. We just got 4,000 something from 7, so that's now you are at 40k. So you've got 25k to go.
The last batch was absolutely. I've got to find the right part. Looking for the login section. Oh, that was actually. Oh, is this the right one? Excuse me. This is April results. They did 20,000 from 30 drill holes.
In April.
So I mean,
wait. Is this year or last year?
No, this is this year.
Where's that bit then? In April. Oh, sorry. This is the.
We've had 4 sets of results. They've done almost 20, 16, 20. So that's 56 plus 11. I make that 65,000 meters.
And that's up to date.
Yeah.
That's all of them, including this one.
So they've wrapped that up. So basically, whatever comes next is whatever they've not released so far this year.
So if that's correct, if we've done that correctly, they finished the growth drilling.
Which, yeah.
According to the 65,000, yeah, they would have finished that bit.
Yeah. Maths is not my strong point, by the way. So please, someone be double checking me. Stat.
This is definitely something to follow up on in the podcast, 100%. Because if they have finished the growth drilling, then we've got nothing to complain about. Like in terms, like, because what are they gonna? Unless they want to do bonus, I don't like. They would have finished that phase. So then, what comes next would have to be the jury joint venture stuff, and obviously moving forward with the construction. And surely, if they've done all of the growth, then then they've got the content for the MRE
and the PFS, which is they're breaking their necks to get.
In the PFS, I think they'll do even more for, but certainly an updated MRE.
I mean, maybe that's what they're working on now, like the PFS.
I think they do say about how, like, I'm just gonna Google in control find infill drilling. Just having a look, see if they make any comments.
See if there's any.
They say having a growth drilling continues to return, so it implies maybe they'll do a bit more.
So much data
happy,
to.
B would be. Yeah, I mean, if what we've just, or rather you have said with adding up the meters, if that's correct, then they've finished the growth drilling.
Someone's done some maths for you. A hole that is 1,400 meters long at an azimuth of 64 degrees will be 1,288 meters deep. Brilliant. Could you please send me the breakdown, because I'd actually like to be able to do. I'm pretty sure if once I see the calculation, I'll recognise how you do it. But off the top of my head, I couldn't remember how you calculate it. I just know that it's trig. Pretty sure it's trig. Because what you've got to think about, you've got the hypotenuse, if you like. You've got the angle, and then you're trying to work out the true depth, and you know roughly the width of where you've gone on the surface. Yeah.
So yeah, you have enough info to calculate it. Thank you to that person as well. So you can still see, though, you're down at 1,200 and something meters in true depth. Like, that is pretty significant.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's interesting as well that the drill angle they've gone at is pretty steep, 64 degrees. Yeah, they say. Yeah, in when you control fine drilling and in 10th of June, they talk about
Sine
totes.
sine equals opposite over hypotenuse.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I did know the method. I did know. Like, I do remember my. I think I learned this in like second year structural class or something. It's just when you know what, when you don't use this data, because when you're supposed to, when you're doing this on site, you probably just do it in your sleep.
Yeah.
But then like I haven't looked at done that method in like probably at least 2 years now, because I haven't been in the field very much. And yeah, the last time I mapped, I didn't have to use any of this because most of the outcrops at surface. But yeah, they I'm just reading now, and they talk about like how the 7 drill holes from this data was 5,757. And it says a total of 164,420 meters from 190 drill holes has been completed since New Crest commenced exploration activity. So you all you need is like that number minus when they said they were going to do the growth, and that'll be it. And I feel like you took away 65,000 from that, you're down 99,000. They did something like close to 100k before the growth bit, so I feel like we're not far away from either finishing or we may have finished it.
I'm laughing at the producer. Sorry, he's waffling away now over Sokotoa, and that sine 64 degrees is 0.92.
Yeah, because you're getting close to 1 at that point. It's a sine of 90, I think, is 1.
And he's getting a PhD.
Yeah.
I think the producers had a bit too much caffeine or something.
Yeah, like that's the thing, you know. You use that, and then you know what your number is.
Stop laughing. That's what he's saying. Oh, that's hilarious. I'm just kind of half reading the notes. And I mean, maybe this is the point where they're wrapping it up. You know, if we've got 65,000 meters, they've not said what they're doing next. There's no what next, is there? I've not missed that, have I?
No, I mean, it says here, I mean, I'm just on page 5, and it talks about how currently all drill rigs are operational on the growth drilling program. So it does imply there's still some to go. But I mean, I don't think we're that far away then, based on what we calculated. I don't know if we're finished then. If they're saying that they're all still operational, they're continuing, can't quite be finished, but we must be getting close.
In which
drill
case,
testing and interpretation of the geological and mineralization controls of the eastern breccia zone is ongoing. It says they're mainly obviously testing northern breccia and the crescent mineralized zones.
I mean, this is the bit that makes you want to cry, is when they say that they're extending the high-grade mineralization 80 meters below the base of the inferred mineral resource. They've got to go further 80 meters down.
Yeah.
That's a lot of ore, isn't it? 80 meters worth.
I mean, it's a pretty substantial increase. Yeah, I mean, what you can see though is that we've still got a lovely continuous stream of news flow still to the end of the year. Like, you know, we're going to get more of this, and this idea that we're going to keep up, you know, doing the growth drilling to obtain this MRE. So I feel like certainly if you're someone who's on the fence about this, like, you should probably, I mean, obviously you've got to do what's best for you and like look, you know, whatever the share price is doing, blah blah blah. But I feel like there's no fundamental reason to sell this stock or to sell out here, because you've got indications all the way through that basically, you know, we're going to be providing you more data, we're going to be and they are supporting, and it keeps saying supporting a mineral resource upgrade.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, when you look at what let me just bring that up. When you look at what Canaccord have said, move that over, with the for and against, the against, literally, there's 4 points. The market expectations are already appear high. Ore body delineation can be double-edged sword. I don't know what that means. Maybe you can elaborate on that one. Ore body delineation? Wow, it's far too late for this. Project economics uncertain and unresolved minor areas in the new Crest JV agreement.
Yeah, I feel like what we've got coming as well, they keep talking about these further targets outside of Havieron as well, but within the joint venture area, we still don't have any information about that really. You know that they keep talking about that there's extra targets in the yeah.
It's crazy. I feel at 1 o'clock in the morning we should maybe call this an evening. What a tremendous 2-hour show we've just done. What a tremendous show this has been. We have, I mean, I'm not sure there are many others that run for 2 hours and just keep going. Yeah, no, the for and against. I mean, you can't argue with that.
No, I think I really like the Canaccord one because they have been very sort of detailed. They've done a lot of analysis, comparisons with other companies and the wider market, everything. I think they've just submitted the 25p because, ultimately they don't want to go overboard. They've just initiated coverage properly. And I think with more information like this, they're going to upgrade that target price. Now, we just need the price, the market to be sensible. That's what we need.
Yes.
Whilst this comes out. So, yeah, overall, I'm pretty happy. So, yeah, like what's important is that they've confirmed the presence of that high grade now zone at further depth below the mafic intrusion.
It's bigger than they thought it was.
Like they're going below that dike. I'm saying dike because it's cross-cutting. It's vertically cross-cutting. That's the reason why I say that. It's also when I say it's when we say it's mafic as well, they do call it like it's dolerite. So dolerite isn't strictly mafic. It's like an intermediate composition. But again, only if you care.
The producers just said the delineation double-edged meaning is if it keeps growing, the quality could decrease. Better to find.
Yeah, I was interested when they said that. I didn't get to that bit when they were trying to explain that. I thought maybe they meant once you finalise the extent, that's it. So it's kind of like a double edge.
Right. Okay.
I thought that's what they meant. But if it meant that, then fair enough.
It's better to find a small amount at high grade than a huge amount at a lower grade.
Yeah. But yeah, just to wrap up then, like I think last set, I think we've got a good amount of information out of it. I'm sure that you'll get to go through as well with on your podcast.
Yes.
I certainly am holding. I will probably continue to top up where I can. That's just the way it is.
Oh yeah, they can jog. I want 28p Magic, and the reason why I want 28p just in the short term is because I put more money in January than I really should have done, and I kind of want that money back. But more importantly, it's because I want a barbecue, and I want a barbecue before the end of the summer.
Well, I know that. I know. Yeah, it's true. So it's funny story. Like I was the first person in my family, I think, to my knowledge, certainly to buy into this. And then off the back of me getting, I think now I've got at least 4 or 5 family members into the stock, just from my videos and me talking about it.
Yeah.
And I know certainly my immediate family are quite, they've got a decent sum in. So they're desperate to get it up to, 25, certainly at a minimum. So that it pays for a good amount of things,
Yeah.
So I think a lot of us are in the same boat. I reckon there's a lot of us that if they were buying at 30p, they would definitely buying here at these levels if you still believe in the fundamentals.
Oh, I've put so much. I'd say I've put so much money in, not so much as in the grand scheme of things, but to me, a lot of my money has gone in this year. Because I still keep thinking it's going to go up next week. It's going to go up next week. It's going to go, and we're 5 months down the line, and we're still waiting for it to go up.
When you've got fundamentals that are so strong, it's hard not to. I always think back to what people like Peter Lynch, Warren Buffett always talk about, and they do say if the fundamentals haven't changed, then essentially don't sell. I know that's very simple. They definitely don't say it just like that. But one of the messages is essentially like, you got to ask yourself the reason. If the share price is dropping after the fundamentals change, no, would I buy it with what I still know now? If the answer is yes, then you should either keep it or buy more. That's basically the ad. That's kind of what I'm doing with Greatland Gold. I don't use this approach all the time because I think it depends on what you're investing in. But when you have the knowledge we have with what we do and what the amount we go into, it's very hard to find a reason to sell Greatland. It really
absolutely. I mean, it's the unicorn that keeps on giving. More talks. Apparently, they want more talk of dikes and oars this late at night, please. Very good.
Yeah.
I think on that bombshell, Magic, I thank you so much for your time and your expertise and your knowledge this evening.
No worries,
We
mate.
could not have made a show like this.
I enjoyed talking
definitely
about
couldn't
it,
have done.
And I enjoyed doing something that's different.
I love your excitement. I love feeding off your excitement. You can hear it building.
I can't promise to get everything right. I can't promise, certainly not with the share price. And obviously, I haven't kept up to date anywhere near to the level I used to do because of just the nature of PhD stuff. So if I have missed certain bits of information, or if I've called something, then I apologize. But hopefully, people can correct that and put stuff in LSE and blah, blah, blah. And I'll try and get to it and just remain up to date as possible, really.
But it shows, though, if you're not that focused on it or interested in it, it means that you've bottom drawed it, and actually
I have.
It's looking
I
honestly
have.
It?
I've just... It's one of the few investments I don't pay much attention to on a daily basis.
And that's a great thing. I think that's what the last 5 months has taught a lot of us, actually, when it comes down to patience, is exactly that.
Please don't get distracted by the nonsense that goes on the American stock market. Unfortunately, I think that's going to come to bite the overall market massively. All these meme stocks, whatever.
Yeah.
But I think one of the best hedges against that is commodities, certainly against inflation. That's one of the things I've started to do a lot. I've personally been buying a lot of things against inflation. And I think gold and commodities is one of the best things, if not the best thing. So that's what I'm doing with Greatland and other things, So that's another reason, I guess, not to sell. Because if the world goes to shit again, I think gold's going to go up.
Absolutely. Somebody actually posted a link to the price of Freddo frogs in line with inflation earlier, and was asking for a TA on that, and if that's because I genuinely believe, and I think that what they should do is when fiat goes, if fiat goes and it becomes a huge problem, then the world should just adopt Freddo frogs as the alternate currency after gold. Definitely the way forward. Somebody has said, Telbap has said, grades are excellent, there's simply not enough of them. We ought to have at least 15 to 20 holes reported tonight, so it answers my own questions that NCM are behind. The daily shorting, so they can stake build cheap. Ooh, interesting concept. So we'll be stuck at 19 to 20p until they're ready, until they absolutely have to update the market with a full update of dual hold or the PFS, going to be a fecking long wait.
Yeah, I mean... Don't know about how long we'll be stuck at 19 to 20p or anything, but it is a possibility. All I can say is that from what we've discussed tonight, it's an accumulation area, and it might be because so look, not everyone out here is going to like Bitcoin or anything, but Bitcoin dumped and is now rumored to be in kind of a accumulation phase, and that's being created by institutions to grab cheap Bitcoin, basically. And the theory goes that it's obviously going to get accumulated, it's going to piss ball around in this area for it, shake out all the weak sort of handed investors or people that get scared, and then it will go up again. Now, well, obviously, like Bitcoin's got way more attention than something like Great and Gold does. But I personally believe that there is some substance to that comment about like how NCM may be doing some shorting, or who knows what organizations are involved in that.
Behind the scenes, you don't know, do you?
I've got my tin hat on out there now. This is this is what happens. But there is every chance that it is being held down. I feel like if you have from what we've seen of the price action, it does feel like there is a seller above or something that is holding the price down.
Yeah.
And if that's so, I think anybody who's watching, like I feel like the majority of us do feel like the price is being manipulated. And normally when price gets manipulated, certainly in like stocks that have good fundamentals, I feel like in general there's a reason for that, and that's because people want cheap stock.
Yeah.
But that's just tin hat.
Absolutely.
Going on.
Listen, as I say, thank you so much, because I just remembered we were wrapping this up and then I started quoting.
Yeah. It is what it is.
Thank you. Hopefully we'll see you again at some point in the next 3 to 6 months. Obviously I can't drag you on every time. It's not fair on yourself, but whenever you're available and if you're free, I'd love to have you back on. It's never a question.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm available, I'll do it. And obviously, like, if maybe I'll do a video at some point. Who knows? I'll be around. I'm not leaving this. I'm not leaving.
No, understandable.
That meme. I'm not leaving. I'm fucking leaving.
And to everyone who is still watching, well done for staying up until 1 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, insane.
If you haven't already, there is a like button and a subscribe button. I'm becoming all millennial and ask you to smash that like button and tick that bell, and I don't know what else it is they say. There's also, I've been told, I've got to say out loud that there's a link for buying a coffee. If you want to buy us a coffee, that's grand. I'll make sure that some of it ends up in Magic's lap as well, because he definitely deserves a few beers after that this evening. Apart from that, thank you, and we will see you all very soon. My name's Liam, and you've been watching GGPHelp TV. Have you got any final words, Magic?
Yeah, diamond hands. I'm joking. Just stick. Be patient, stick with it, and I'm sure we'll all be wealthier for it.
And that, boys and girls, is a wrap. Thank you very much, and good night.